to see what's going on. That was really weird. I reset my router before we started everything, so it is a little odd to get that blip. Bam. It looks like we're live. Okay, cool. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. I will get to the super chats that pop up in this stream. I'm going to hit the ones from last stream. I do have all those pulled up because we had some very generous ones in there. So if you guys are sending in super chats, just understand we're going to get to them. They're just in that other stream right now. All right. So John Nolte had sent in, sending prayers for Damar Hamlin. May he be restored to full health in Jesus' name. RJ McPott says, I applaud you, Ryan, for stopping the stream last night, but thank you, man. Might have jumped the gun by saying that Hamlin was dead. That was the guy that called in and said it may have happened, but I appreciate him telling me. Christopher Sullivan. Sorry, where is it? Christopher Sullivan says, put everything towards him with a $4.99 donation. Brian Bogan says, don't see how the Bills don't win the Super Bowl now. They're going to be playing with extra motivation. That was a $20 super chat. Thank you, Brian, for the donation. Yeah, I agree. I think the Bills have got to be the odds-on favorite. I think when you have emotion like this, it sends you into a complete another gear. Gator needs his gat, says Salah doesn't deserve to be fired. I want continuity, but team makes tone of its leader, and the New York Jets look unprepared, unmotivated, undisciplined. Yeah, I'm in that same boat. I don't want to see Salah fired, but I mean, it looked like we did not care since the Thursday night game. Matt, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating to see how they played over the last couple of games. I mean, only 9 points over that stretch. I agree. I don't think you fire Robert Saleh over it, but I think it's fair to say that you're concerned with the team's response and be critical of him for it. But I think it would be premature to pull the plug.
Green Bean, your thoughts on Robert Saleh and the team looking unprepared? All right, I'm just going to rattle off some stuff. You may have to hop off and hop back on again. I don't know. It's something with me and you trying to connect. So we'll get back to Green Bean's thoughts in just a second. John, thank you for the super chat. He also says, with both there were injuries in this quarterback situation in the realm of reality. Jimmy G, 2 years, $40 million. Mike White, 1 year, $3 million, and bring back Zach. I do think Zach winds up staying. I don't think we trade him in the offseason. I think if you're going to go with Jimmy G, you should bring back Mike White. I think we're probably the best option for Mike White. I don't think we have to worry too much about other teams maybe poaching him. Edward Ziff says, I hope Saleh remains head coach and we get Sean Payton as offensive coordinator. Edward, please pass the blunt because you are high off your ass if you think Sean Payton's coming here to be OC. Sawyer drops in, says, imagine his reaction when he wakes up and sees all the donations. Not a whole lot we as outsiders can do, but it's heartwarming to see all these people helping his cause. Thank you, Sawyer, for the donation. Soreless comes in, says, I remember tweeting at you and Matt, but I live in Buffalo. I was at a bar yesterday's game. I was beyond silent the whole time. So glad to see the whole sports world come together after this. Prayers for Damar. Soreless, I did see that message, and thank you for reaching out. I do like hearing that kind of context. Jets Maniac comes in with a $10 super chat, says, praying for Damar. Well, gentlemen, here we are, January 3rd, and not heading for the playoffs, and on my way to Miami. Love our head coach. Think he can be something, but this is a total collapse. Can't lose 7 in a row. Yeah, I agree. I feel like this game is so important because if you go into the offseason losing to either Teddy Bridgewater or Chris Thompson, I think there's just, I don't know how you don't fire someone. I don't think Salah's out, but I think there's no way LaFleur stays if the offense comes out struggling and the Jets lose to Miami. Green Bean, your thoughts on the Jets quarterback situation from before what we were talking about, Jimmy G versus, I think that was Jimmy G versus Derek Carr. Yeah, the Jimmy G versus Mike White, I think, is what it wound up being, and Saleh being undisciplined and all that. Give me your thoughts.
Well, as far just to wrap up the quarterback thing, if you think Jimmy G is injured just about every year, right? if not every year, at least to some degree. And don't forget, the Niners used 3 first-round picks and a third to replace him. So that speaks volumes. Now, if we go get him, fine, because of the familiarity and the comfort. Just know we have what's known as bad luck. The Niners are on the good luck side. When you take an injury-prone guy on good luck street and bring him over to Shitsville, in my opinion, he'll be out for the season by week 4. That's what I fear. That's what I fear with a guy like that. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope we don't ultimately get him. Although I think that his talent is more than enough to make this team a success. Now, as far as the firing everybody, yeah, what I was saying was one of my favorite things to do is to fire everybody and start over every 2 years. So that being just makes me happy. I'd like to see that all done. Me personally, honestly, jokes aside, I think that we should allow this whole entire outfit, unless someone is the problem, which I don't see it. I see problems. I don't see the problem. I think we should probably try something a little bit different, and let's see if we can let the entire group work through something and overcome an obstacle. Dude, you think we've had a lot of head coaches. Look at our offensive coordinators. Rex had 3, Bowles had 3, Adam Gase had none. Well, he had Dowell Loggins. It's like, so it's like, let's just keep the organization together. If we need to fire the whole lot, fire the whole lot. But I don't see Mike LaFleur as again, I watched the All-22 guys. I watched the film, and I'm not saying I love him. I don't. But there are dozens of plays a game where everything worked. There's enough time and guys are open, and the quarterback either doesn't see him, doesn't pull the trigger, or throws it 3 yards above his head or into the dirt. It happens all the time. Like on those plays where you think the offensive line broke down and the quarterback's running, there was enough time, and in 1 second there were 2 open receivers sometimes. So the designs are working, and I think that if those plays were hit, I think we're not talking about this. I'm not saying I love him. There's lots of situational stuff that he baffles my mind what his choices are in those scenarios. I also find him to be too conservative. That all said, again, the play design works enough for me. Let's let them learn from this, look at it and go, holy shit, man, we need to do this, that, or the other thing. Let's see if they can overcome it, as opposed to bringing in an entirely new system. And let's see if the whole team can learn that. And then we're going to be pissed by game 3 if they're not throwing, 400 yards of offense and 30 points. They suck. We're going to do that all again. You know what I mean? Just let them fucking roll with it. That's what I say. All or nothing.
All right, I still got a few more super chats from the last stream. City Bert says, Brady, Peyton, Fangio all have the same agent and marketed as a package for a team. Would you take them, get rid of Salah, and draft a young quarterback late? Yeah, I would do that for Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton's the only coach that I think I would probably pull the plug on. But you can't convince me that that's actually going to happen here. I think they're going to make a move elsewhere. You'd have to give up your first-round pick for Sean Payton, too. He's still under contract. Blitz Crew dropped in with a $200 donation before. He says, prayers for Hamlin and all his loved ones. I'm an MD and have coded a person outside the hospital. It's a nightmare that EMTs encounter daily. I am glad the NFL stopped the game. He has brought a lot of attention to medical issues in the NFL and doing a lot for children. Blitzcrew, thank you so much. That was an incredibly generous donation. For those of you guys tuning in, we are donating all super chats tonight to the Chasing M's Foundation that donates toys for underprivileged kids. Brian Bogan comes in with a super chat, says, we can at least get some of Namath's swagger with Gardner Minshew. Matt, how are you on Gardner Minshew coming to New York?
If it was like a Gardner Minshew and Mike White thing from a couple of weeks ago, I might have been okay with it, but Gardner's play the last couple of weeks, and then Mike White with the injury, and just I don't know. I think they probably need to take a bigger swing at the quarterback position.
Green Bean, what about you? What do you think about Gardner Minshew coming to New York?
He's not, Derek Carr is my first choice, but I think Minshew's probably maybe 3 for me. I'm with Matt. There's some concerns, but here's the thing we got to remember about Gardner Minshew. He's literally right now still on his rookie contract. You know what I mean? Like he's a young quarterback that has been through a lot of the tumult of like kind of adjusting through the NFL. Even with all this stuff, he's got, I believe, I haven't looked in a minute. I think he's a 64 point something percent completion percentage. Again, man, he scores more touchdowns than he throws picks. I think that level of talent, I don't think this offense needs Peyton Manning. Not that I'm against Peyton Manning, but I don't think we need it. Gardner Minshew, I'd be happy, not as happy as Derek Carr, but I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I think for me, it's probably Derek Carr, Jimmy G with Mike White, I think, as like the 1-2 punch if you're bringing them both in, because you got to worry about health with both those guys. Then I'm probably somewhere, I'm probably at the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love junction, somewhere in there, because rumors are that Jordan Love is going to request a trade this offseason if Rodgers does not retire and Jordan Love is not named the starter. So depending on how Green Bay feels, I would take either one of those quarterbacks because I think they both provide you different things. You could either have Jordan Love maybe compete with Zach Wilson, or you trade Zach Wilson to sit behind Aaron Rodgers and you have Jordan Love. There's a lot of interesting situations, but I'd say Gardner Minshew for me right now, he was higher on my list. He's probably somewhere around 4 or 5, I think. Gator Needs His Gat says, I would get a vet quarterback and draft one with intent to sit and learn. We can't solve for quarterback, so roll more dice. If we draft one, who do you want? And be realistic, he says. I like the route of having an established veteran quarterback here, whether it be Carr or Garoppolo or someone, and allowing Zach to sit while also coming in and having a draft pick in the 2nd or 3rd round that has some high upside. That appeals to me the most. Now, if you want to talk me into using our 1st round pick because we think we can get a lineman or something else elsewhere, maybe you do that. I just don't know if the Johnsons sign off on that without seeing some sort of, proof of everything kind of working here. I don't know. Anthony Richardson is the name that intrigues me the most if I could let one of the quarterbacks sit, but I think he's going to go in the 1st round, and I don't think the Jets are going to spend a 1st on a quarterback. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, you can't. I don't understand. I mean, I think me and you talked about Hooker a couple weeks ago with him being an older prospect and someone who probably needs to develop also, which that wouldn't make sense. And while Richardson is an interesting prospect, the Jets can't afford to take a developmental guy in the 1st round. There are other teams who can do that. The Jets are not one of them. They don't have that veteran in place. It's kind of like when the Ravens took Lamar Jackson and they already had Joe Flacco there, or when the Chiefs took Patrick Mahomes and they already had Alex Smith. The Jets don't have someone like that to do that with.
They could, though, by the time the draft comes around. Is there someone that we could have that you would feel comfortable in?
No, because then I'd want to use that pick on an offensive lineman to help keep this quarterback
that
upright.
Quarterback. yeah, fair enough. Green Bean, your thoughts on this?
I second Matt. I mean, how many times are we going to do this? Are we going to grab another kid and fucking hate him by week 6 and call his mom a whore? And what are we going to do here? Let's get a guy that's already been through all that. We don't have to deal with rookie mistakes. We're not the fan base. This isn't the place. I'm not all that confident in Calabrese and LaFleur to develop a quarterback at this juncture in their career. I mean, and they did a decent job with Mike White. He's better than, not last game, but he's better than he was last year. So you can give him credit for that, I would imagine. But again, I don't see them developing a guy from square one. Didn't happen. And I'd hate to see us ruin and hate another guy. Just bring in a vet and let's do that.
Ablab was the last super chat from the last stream. I wish I could show it up on the screen, just like Blitz Cruise. $200 super chat coming in from Ablab Studios says prayers with Damar and his family. Shout out to Bills fans and all fans of sports. Life is fragile and fleeting. Wish you all health and joy, gang. Thank you so much, Ablab. Well said. This is a game when it's all said and done, and I think it's important to keep that, context there when we're talking about, sports all the time and whatnot. Lou Schnoder comes in with a $25 super chat. Thank you, Lou. I don't see a comment attached to it, so I'm just going to say thank you, and we're going to move on. Jonathan Moore had a member super chat. He says, we can't keep the trend of firing head coaches. It's a bad look. I completely agree with you, Green Bean. I know you were kind of touching on that before. Anything else to add to the firing of coaches?
I mean, it works. It's clear that it works, and we should continue to do that, in my opinion, and we should do it every 2 years. That's what I think.
Love it. No, I don't love it. I like stability. Matt, you like stability?
It feels a lot safer. I could get used to safe.
Right?
You don't want
Think
to
about
try
how many
and
bad head coaches we went through. I think Sal is not a bad head coach. I think he's just an inexperienced head coach.
It's fresh and new and fun.
Right?
Come on. You don't want a new one? So fresh.
So much excitement. We could, it could be a boat. It's like the Peter Griffin meme, right? John drops in and says, won my busser 5.5 games bet, sharing the love. His bet US. Yeah, thanks, John.
Nice.
Much appreciated. I hit on that too. Threw a little $25 action on it. So much appreciated there. Speed Doctor comes in, says, Bears missed on Trubisky and immediately drafted Fields. Anthony Richardson will be a beast. Too bad Jets will not take a shot and sit him for a year. Matt, I see you shaking your head. Any thoughts for us?
Yeah, they missed on Trubisky and then waited another 4 years to draft another quarterback. It's not like they turned around and drafted another quarterback 2 years later. Right. I don't know. Fine. If that's what you want to do, fantastic, I guess. When they, I don't get, dude, one more thing. Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh have a lot of pressure to win in 2023. I think there should be a playoff mandate next year, and kicking it down the line with Mike White and Anthony Richardson sitting behind him isn't appealing enough to me. I'm sorry.
I completely agree. I think next year you have to be able to make the playoffs. I'm fine with drafting someone. I just don't think you can have Mike White, Zach Wilson, and a drafted guy. Like, I think you're going to have, if you want to sell me on not re-signing Mike White, you go after Carr or you go after Jimmy G, and you want to draft a developmental guy to sit behind him. I'm all good with that. Anything other than that, I think drafting a developmental guy in the first round seems like a bad move. Green Bean, any thoughts on, the Bears seem to do it with Trubisky, with Fields. Do you think we should do it with the quarterback here as well?
I have one question. Is there any reports of Jets fans waiting outside for the Bears staff to fight them or whatever, hurl insults? And are there any reports of the Bears fans DMing Trubisky's mother? I need that to make sure I'm really going to make my argument properly. I need more info. I don't know if we have those reports.
I could see that being a big area of concern. Sky C comes in with a big $50 super chat. Thank you, Sky C. Says, Happy New Year's, guys. Grateful for all three of you and the game of football and all the players past and present that have put their lives on the line to entertain us. Peace to Damar. Thank you so much, Sky C. Means a lot. It's all going to a really good place. Tony 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿 comes in and says, Zach lost his quarterback coach this year and regressed this year. It's our coaching staff. Demote LaFleur to Waterboy. Let me see if I can find the article that was on Jet Nation that was drawn up. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I don't know if I can. I think it is still on the first page. I think it was the importance of positional coaches. No, there was something about Saleh and the amount of coaches he brought in and the lack of experience they had. And a lot of guys were first-year coaches. So I think, I think this tail end of the year, it has to be blamed on coaching. I think our team came out and looked completely unprepared and completely disinterested. And I don't know how you have 10 days to prepare from that Jaguars game and then find out all the cards literally fell the right way for you that weekend and you couldn't get the team up to play. Like, that's an issue. Matt, your thoughts on the team's motivation?
Yeah, that is definitely frustrating. And like I said earlier, I think that's a fair criticism of Robert Saleh right now, is how the team played down this stretch, specifically against Detroit, Jacksonville, and this past week against Seattle. Honestly, and I'm curious to see what you guys think. It feels like this team quit after giving up that fourth down and inches touchdown against the Lions. It felt like that was really the thing that was like, all right, that's it. It's over.
Broke the camel's back. Yeah, they didn't show up on Thursday Night Football. I think they felt like it was all over after that touchdown. I agree. Green Bean, your thoughts on the motivation level of the New York Jets?
Yeah, I agree with you guys, other than to say I still feel like the defense did show up. Not in the first quarter. I think look at the Detroit game. It was a special teams touchdown. I think they held them to what? I forget what the score was, a field goal or one touchdown. And then it was that one play. Now, terrible timing on the play, and obviously you don't want, but I think what's really going on is as the season wore on, the team just felt as though they weren't going to win. Like I said, that's on the coaching staff to keep them up here. And we saw that. And I think it was the Jaguars game that did it for me. So I think like what you're saying, after that 4th and inches, it kind of stole the soul. There's been a lot of fight. That all said, I mean, the defense is still holding teams to 20 points, right around 20 points. And the offense can't help them out. That's got to be incredibly disheartening, even if they do get jumped on. Like they got jumped on early. And that, and then they clamped down. It happened in the Jaguars game. It happened in the Seattle game. I think it was 6 points,
17-0. I think, right? It was like 17-0 to start.
Yeah, and that's not. I'm not. Believe me, I'm not. Removing fault, but they do clamp down and they give the offense numerous times, and they just know it's like, like you can feel it, just like we can feel it out here. Like you can feel it, man. When we're in the stadium, remember week 1 last year, me and Matt were talking about it. It's like you feel it. It was like we were talking about that in the first quarter. You feel it? Yep. It's like you can feel. We talked about it just this year. I was sitting with Jack and Richie. I looked over to Jack looked at me and said, "Can you feel it, Green?" I said, "Oh, I feel it." And that was before the story
sucked out.
You just feel it, right? And so like the team can feel that too. And I'm not saying it's not a pass. But I do feel like there's a lot of reasons like they build up. Just like I thought the offensive line injuries, we did a good job like accounting for them, and it caught up. And even though they played pretty well last game, for the 3 games before that, it was really bad. It just catches up. Like this stuff catches up in the same way that if the defense keeps going on the field, it's 3 and out on the offense for the entire first half and third quarter. Even though they're doing a good job, it's gonna catch up. And that's kind of what I thought that's what I saw happen in Detroit. It's like they're on the field the whole second half, and then we blame them for the one play. It's just, I don't know. And they're at fault for it. But for me, it just seems like we got a couple pieces away, and I am a firm believer, with everything being exactly as it was. Breece Hall injury, AVT. If we had a quarterback that was hitting 65% of his passes and scored more touchdowns than interceptions, I think we're at 9, 10, 11 win team. I really do. That's where I stand. So I'm looking at quarterback. That's me.
Yeah, I fall in line with that line of thinking as well, Green Bean. June the Jet, formerly known as June Smith. Thank you so much for the super chat. And then, what was it? I think we got Blitzcrew's next. Yeah, Blitzcrew dropping in with another big super chat. Thank you, dude. 50 spot this time. Says Hooker and Dugan to sit and develop with day 2 or earlier day 3 picks at most. The fact that Hamlin is prone on a ventilator, not a good sign, given what happened. Likely blood in the heart. Sac, hypertropic. Wow, lots of words. Heart contusion. Yeah, I'm not going to speculate on what it is or isn't, I guess, at this point. We just wish him the best. But yeah, look, Hooker or Dugan, I don't know enough on this quarterback class yet. I was hoping not to have to research them quite so extensively. But I guess that's going to have to change. I do know a little bit on Hooker. He's really old. I would advise against that unless you get him like late. But I don't know if he's necessarily better than like Mike White at this point. Given the age. Matt, your thoughts on Hooker or Dugan?
I think Green Bean's younger than Hendon Hooker.
I am.
Yeah, but I'm not opposed. So probably not him, especially with the injuries and the age. But I'm not opposed to taking a mid-round developmental guy in. But like, there's other positions you have to attack. So I'm talking like 4th or 5th round, maybe is the point that I'd be looking at. And both Hooker and Richardson are going well before that.
Green Bean, your thoughts on Hooker or Dugan here?
Well, in my former life, when I was a drug addict, Hooker was more of a part of it than it is today.
Hooker was a noun. I don't know. Or a verb.
Yeah, exactly right. I look, admittedly, I'm just going to say this. I've said it a few times. I have by choice not done deep dives on very many players. Now, I've watched a few college games, but it just so happens that this year I've watched less college ball than usual. I've been very, very my life changed. I just didn't have the same availability. So I don't really know, man. That's the thing. I'm with Matt. I'm fine with like a late round, mid-round quarterback. But the truth is, guys, we got to remember we have 5 draft picks this year. 5. All right. So this isn't the normal last 2 or 3 years where we got 2 first, 2 second. We can shuffle around and do little things. We don't have that. Now, if Joe Douglas does some moving back or something like that, okay, and we gain some more picks, maybe. But I would hate to see us use one of those 5 picks on a 4th round quarterback. I just, I'm not feeling it. I think, like was said, Derek Carr with Mike White. Mike White's a good backup, man. I think he's proven that. He can come in 2 games if you need him to, and he can play really well. The team loves him and all that shit, and you can get it going. But I don't know how, as a starter, I really don't feel like that's the good move. So Mike White as a backup, Zach Wilson, if you got to keep him developing as the 3rd, and you got Derek Carr. I think that's the way to go, rather than bring in another kid, especially when we have 5 picks.
I see Charles in the chat says, Hendon Hooker is only 24 years old. That's not old at all. Well, in 10 days, he turns 25. Yeah. And we're going to assume he's going to need at least a year of development, which means at the earliest, he's 25 starting his first game on his team. So I do not want to go that direction. Harry drops in. Harry says, drafting Stetson Bennett, day 2. I have no idea who that is.
He's Georgia's quarterback. That's another one that Green Bean's younger than. He's like in his 8th year in the college football.
I'm starting to think Matt's making fun of me. I don't know. And one more of those, Matt. Hey. One more.
He knows how old you are. He was at the birthday party.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he knows exactly. Right. I know. He bought me a jersey that says how old I am. Let me show you.
Yeah, there you go. So you can never forget it. Look, there it is.
72.
That's you can't forget it.
Old I am.
Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, what a beautiful thing.
I love it.
All right. Trying to catch my breath right now. Jesus.
The best.
Rodrigo. Words are hard right now. Rodrigo says, no more quarterback in the first 3 rounds, please. Man out now, and Zach Wilson will be a bust, but we have to wait. I'm a Jets fan from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Hey, Rodrigo. Thank you so much. Yeah. From, not across the pond, but hop, skip, and a jump below the border there. Love it.
That's right.
Absolutely awesome. Some friends from Brazil. I got some friends in Argentina, Chile, and Peru as well. Let's see. No quarterback in the first 3 rounds. Yeah, I'm on board with that. Like, if I had to, without knowing anything about the draft, say I'm taking the tackle from Georgia in the first round, I'm looking at safety probably in the 2nd round. I'm probably looking linebacker in the 3rd round. And then in 4th round is probably when I start thinking quarterback. I don't know. Zach Wilson being a bust? It could be. He's not. I saw some stats on Ryan Leaf, and he's nowhere near as bad as Ryan Leaf was. But it's certainly not looking great. Let's see. Who's up next? John Springs. John Springs comes in, says to me, the team is nuts. The quarterback needs to be a vet. No discussion needed, and keep prayers going because that terrified me last night. Nothing but love to Bills Mafia from Gangrene. 100%. Thank you so much, John. Yeah, I think it's got to be a vet, right? Like this team's ready to win now. We can't risk the development of a quarterback with a Super Bowl ready team now. You have to go out and get someone. Whether it's, I'd even support a Rodgers or Brady type move that's for a year if you want to bring in someone through the draft as well, because at least you have that developmental season and you're still going for a Super Bowl next year. But like to me, like we've been kind of saying, Derek Carr should be option one. He's giving you like your franchise's best season, single season, like 8 years in his career. If he had played the final 2 games of this season, he would have eclipsed the 4,000 yard mark if he just played to his career average. Like, that's nuts. We've been asking for that. We just want consistency. For me, it's Derek Carr. If you don't get Derek Carr, then I think it's Jimmy Garoppolo. The issue for me is that I think we're fighting with a lot of people like Miami for the same quarterbacks, and I think that's going to be our big issue, and we may wind up striking out. So I want to pivot this question to you, Matt. If Carr and Garoppolo are not options for us, what's your third then?
Cry? I don't know. I don't know. No, that's not good. A power play for Rodgers. I know you mentioned Jordan Love earlier, and you're not the only one who's mentioned that. I've heard that one mentioned a lot, but that really scares me because he is a massive unknown. I just want something that's a little bit more of a proven product because of where the rest of the roster is. They have a ton of young talent on rookie deals. I think now's the time where you push your chips into the table and go for it. And Love is a huge risk. I think he started 1 game. He's played in like 6 games in his career, and some have been better than others. I thought he looked pretty good this year, but it's not enough for me to say, okay, yeah, I'm definitely sure that he's going to be a good quarterback at this level. I don't think we know.
Greenbean, what about you? After Carr and Garoppolo, is Minshew your third? And if it is, who would be like fourth, I guess, after that?
Yeah, Minshew's my third. The Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love scenario up there is very interesting. I mean, Jordan Love, dude, we have to remember he's a first-round pick. He was highly regarded, not like Sam Darnold was highly regarded, but he was a well-thought-of draft prospect. He's been sitting behind Aaron Rodgers in essentially our offense in many respects, right? He's been sitting there grooming for 3 years behind one of the all-time greats and on an offense that's very, very similar to ours in some ways, So I think that he might end up being a good option. Scary thing is we don't know what the hell he is. He could be like, he could be throwing meatballs like Strebler. We don't know. But there's a lot of reasons to believe that he can be something. And if you do trade, it'll probably on the lower side and the money and all that. So that's interesting to me. I don't know enough. I'm certainly not confident. But now if they want to go with Jordan Love in the same way that the Packers wanted to go with Aaron Rodgers when Brett Favre was here, Brett Favre was still playing at a high level. They just decided we're going with Aaron Rodgers because he's been here for a couple of years. Grooming. So there could be an interesting thing there. Now, obviously, we've talked about it. There's something like a $99 million dead cap if they trade him before June 1st. And so there's a lot of them. I think it's $30 million after June 1st. So there's a lot there. But if you have willing parties, the Packers, Aaron Rodgers, and the Jets, that can be something too. So I wouldn't be opposed to kind of talking to Green Bay. Remember, we have a fantastic relationship with them. These men have slept in the same rooms together as children, So they're all buddy and brother and all that sort of stuff. So that could be interesting. So if it's not those top 3, I'm thinking maybe talking to the Packers about one of those guys, seeing which way they want to go. If they're wanting to go with the Jordan Love, don't forget, this is the regime that traded up in the first round to get him. They traded up, man. So they could really be ready to move and start the new kid. And if they are, maybe you talk about Aaron Rodgers. I think this would be a good landing spot for him. And the same respect, if they're just like, hey, Aaron Rodgers is too good, we're not going to bend from this track. Then you look at Jordan Love. Maybe you can get him on the cheaper side and see what you got. He's not a kid. I mean, he's young, but he's not a rook. He's going to go into his 4th year, I believe it is. So that could be interesting too. That's the direction I think I'd go.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what winds up happening with Rodgers in particular, because it seems like he's very uninterested, but they're very close. I think if they win out now, I think they're in the playoffs at this point.
Yep. Just like that.
Landing here would be the equivalent of Tom Brady landing in Tampa. I think it's that same sort of dynamic where you have a lot of, assets on the team that you can build around the quarterback. Now, Rodgers has that massive dead cap hit. I think it would have to happen after the draft, which is concerning. I mean, maybe there's a situation where they handshake, nod agreement on an Aaron Rodgers trade before June 1st and it becomes official on June 1st. And you would have to imagine the familial ties between the LaFleur brothers would be the only thing holding that together. I don't know. Rodgers is up there as far as options for me. I would say he's probably option 3. I think Love probably falls to option 4 at that point for me. Chode drops in, says, if they go after Garoppolo, does this mean they're okay starting White for most of the season? God knows the injury thing is a tangible reality, and it's going to take all 6 minutes for MetLife to claim the body of Jimmy G. I don't know how severe Jimmy G's injury is, when he's projected to start. I would imagine they're going to have him back for training camp. If that's the case, then yeah, you got to worry about injury. And then I think you do have to bring someone back like Mike White, someone that understands the offense better than Zach Wilson. And then you just let Zach kind of, learn and grow. And then maybe it's White versus Zach as opposed to, White as number 2. But, yeah, Garoppolo for me, I'm okay with that. I really am. Green Bean, you think they're going to turn on Garoppolo the minute he gets hurt?
Yes. Us?
Fans?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
That sounds like us.
Even the people that are pining for him now, they will jump on the side and say, I knew he was going to get injured. That's what's going to happen. Shit, man. I've been hanging at this party for a long time.
We flip-flop more than my pillow in the middle of the night. Trying to get to the cool side.
It's amazing.
Flapjacks.
Let me say this,
Matt, any thoughts? Oh, yeah, go on.
Well, real quick. On the competition thing, I just took a quick look at Miami's salary cap for next year. Right now, because we were saying there might be competition for these quarterbacks. Right now, as it stands, they're over the salary cap for next year. So they have a lot of moving and shaking to do to even get under it. And then there are players like Xavier Howard. And I mean, they cut him. He's a $33 million cap hit. Agba's $21 million cap hit. So there's a lot of those guys. They obviously brought on Tyreek Hill and what's his name? The edge rusher, Bradley Chubb. Right. So
they've got some moves to make. So they have $3.6 million rolling over. So it'll be about $1 million over the cap next year, but that's not enough to obviously sign their draft picks. I mean, they don't have a first-round pick, so they don't have to worry about that. They could cut Byron Jones. They would save $4 million. That's probably not an advisable cut. Connor Williams, their safety, would save him $5 million. Yeah, I mean, they don't really have a whole lot of great options to cut. Yeah. I'm sure they could restructure people. That's probably more so the route they're going to have to look. And just kind of move money around. Because I'm convinced the cap is just a fucking myth at this point. I've had so many times where I'm pulling my hair out about the Jets salary cap, and then I see Buffalo sign a $20 million a year edge rusher in Von Miller, and I just say, well, what the hell? Why did I even worry about this? There's money to be had.
But it's weird. We haven't been the ones to do that yet. You know what I mean?
We haven't even signed a player that we've drafted to a second contract since Muhammad Wilkerson.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, what's his name? Jenkins for 1 year. We did that. We did, Nathan Shepard.
I guess that's true, technically. Yeah. A multi-year extension?
No, well, that's a different story. You didn't say
Interesting.
That. Yeah, we give Nathan Shepard got a second contract. But the point is, it's not like they're out there rolling in money. They're in a very similar boat that we are, but even they're technically speaking about 15 million or so, deeper into this, they have to do some work, 15 million more than we do. So I think that we can be at bare minimum competitive. And look, dude, I think a lot of quarterbacks would be looking at this offense, licking their chops, especially if we can just bring in a tackle and a guard or a tackle, guard, or center. If we do that, I think that we're going to be a very attractive landing spot for a lot of quarterbacks. I just hope it's Derek Carr.
AZ Jet says, who's our best option for O-line in the first round? I'm just going to go off Tankathon's big board right now. I'm not doing a whole ton of research as far as like where people are overall ranked. At number 6 overall on the big board is Northwestern offensive tackle Peter Skoronski. Number 10 on their big board is Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State. The guy I'm looking at the most is Broderick Jones, the tackle from Georgia. I like the big school SEC teams going against the big pass rushers personally. He would be my first choice. Based on Matt's reaction, I think Paris Johnson should be someone I should consider as well. Matt, your thoughts on the offensive lineman?
To be honest, and I just recently started, so I'm not like super far ahead, but I love Paris Johnson so far. I'm good with the 3 that you listed off. I'm not anti Broderick Jones. Like if that's what it happened to be, I would say go for it. I'm all in. I just prefer Johnson. Now, the thing with the Northwestern kid, Skoronski, I think is how you say his last name.
Yeah.
He might be an AVT situation where he might be better suited at guard in the NFL. I think they're worried about his arm length, but he's a talented guy. So I wouldn't be opposed to drafting talented and versatile offensive linemen. We've seen how that's worked so far with the Jets with AVT. But I think Johnson is the home run, in my opinion.
Ooh, Green Bean, have you seen anything on the offensive lineman yet for this draft?
Other than my boy Jarrett Patterson, who fell like a stone this year. He should have come out last year, man. He could have been a first round, second round pick. I don't know. I by choice, again, I've chosen not to. Now, as soon as this game's over, Miami, I got all sorts of shit ready to be opened, but I don't have anything. I didn't do a thing. I don't know anybody. I don't know what Matt's talking about, this crazy guy.
One Love, thank you so much for the super chat. Tony Alexio. Tony drops in, says, DJ Reed players meeting turned our season. Poor coaching destroyed us. That's an interesting topic for discussion. I think the DJ Reed calling out the coaching staff and Quinnen Williams yelling at 𝐒𝐿𝐞𝐞𝐚 clearly turned this defense around, at least for a portion of time. And then the offensive side never really seemed to get anything clicking. I think we only had one opening drive touchdown this entire season. Yeah, I mean, was coaching our biggest handicap this year? I tend to lean no. I think quarterback is still the biggest issue. But I think going to the second option, as far as offensive line and coaching, who you weigh more on, I think that's a fair argument. I'd probably lean offensive line. I think coaching's number 3 for us right now. Matt, any thoughts? Where would coaching rank on your list of things that went wrong for the Jets this year?
3rd. I would say quarterback play 1, injuries 2, and then coaching 3.
Green Bean, what about you? Where does coaching fall on your big list of issues with the Jets this year?
Oh, it's like, if it's not 1, it's 1B for me. I mean, again, I think it's quarterback, but I think a lot of that sort of stuff does fall to coaching. You know, whether or not we can develop somebody, whether we can acknowledge that the guy, you know, like in the Patriots games, like he needed to be pulled. He was glazed over. You need to, you know, try to get these wins. I think a lot of it's on coaching. That said, I think, you know, dude, that's what happens when you hire rookies. I mean, like if you can't see the progress from year 1 to year 2 from Saleh, then I don't know what to tell you. I do. That said, I think a lot of the woes fall back on Saleh. He did a good job this year, kind of changing things and getting us going, and he couldn't maintain it. Hopefully he learns how to do that.
Let's see. Where did I see this? Gator needs his gat. Comes in, says, linebacker and safety were 2 positions of need coming into the year. Both are still priorities heading into the offseason. Noah Sewell, brothers of Penei Sewell, looks good in green. He's the Oregon linebacker right now. On Tankathon, he's projected as the 36th prospect on their big board, with him being the number 2 overall linebacker. Trenton Simpson out of Clemson is listed as the top linebacker on the board. Sewell is followed by Drew Sanders out of Arkansas and Henry, I'm going to screw up this name, Tutu, out of Alabama. Those are 4 linebackers inside the top 40. Outside of that, or inside the top 45, everything outside of that is outside the top 70, according to Tankathon.
Can I give you another one they missed?
Yeah, absolutely. Fire away.
Jack Campbell, tackling machine out of Iowa. That is another early, again, very early in the process, but this is a very early Matt O'Leary draft crush right now.
Ooh. I don't think. Yeah, they don't have him listed on here. Interesting.
Thinking second or third round.
Ooh, I'm excited to look into all this. I really do like draft season. As much as I bitch about having to do mock drafts throughout the season, it's nice to there's hope. Every team, all 32 teams have hope in the offseason, which is what I've had to buy from our Jets as of recently. All right. Let's see. We were just on Gator needs his get. Daniel Murphy. Daniel Murphy drops in, says, having to add a quarterback to needs list makes things real complicated this offseason. Already have a good bit of holes to fill and a little money. Best wishes for Damar. Thank you, Daniel. Much appreciated. Yeah, look, quarterback was a position I did not think we were going to have to address until after the 2023 season at the earliest. I thought maybe after this season, you bring in competition for Zach Wilson. But I think it's clear as day, we have clicked as a team far earlier than we expected, and thus the expectations change. So for me, it's get the vet quarterback in here now. If Zach Wilson gives you anything in a year or two time, awesome, but having to add quarterback to the list of needs is really, really frustrating. Green Bean, your thoughts?
It's you're so right, man. I mean, the expectations did change. I think rightfully so. And at the bye, we're saying that it's in order for our, preseason expectations to become true, there has to be an epic collapse. That's it. And we saw it. It's just so terrible, but if this was spread out, let's say we won 4 before the bye and we were 4-5, and then we win 4 out here, if we win Miami, and we ended up being an 8-win team. We swept the Dolphins, we split with the Bills. We haven't won a division game in 5 years, whatever it is. And now we won 3. There's all, rookie of the year offense, maybe rookie of the year, there's lots of positives to look at. The problem is we got all the wins up front and we suck. You know what I mean? It's 6 in a row or 5 in a row, 6 of 7. It's just, it's impossible to ignore, man. Even though there is lots of progress and lots of positives, it's impossible to pull them out higher than the collapse right now. And I understand why people are upset. So yeah, the expectations did change, and that's their own damn fault with the receipts. Remember that? Remember receipts? Seems like 5 years ago.
We should have been talking about receipts more frequently. This would have been, maybe more helpful than we got. Who knows? Let's see. William drops in, says, love you all. William, we love you. Citybert drops in, says, shout out Dennis Byrd on a day like this. Green Bean, any good Byrd stories as a fan from when he played?
Well, let me tell you guys this. I don't know if I told you. I know I said it on a stream, but I made that Dennis Byrd, episode 90 of the podcast. I did a whole Dennis Byrd thing. I didn't see it coming, but I ended up fucking crying. I almost deleted the whole thing because I was embarrassed, but I said, screw it. I left it in there. Dennis Byrd's wife reached out to me. Did I tell you guys this?
No, I didn't hear this.
God. Yeah, Dennis Byrd's wife, man, reached out to me, thanked me for making it, and she said, I really appreciate you keeping Dennis's memory alive. It was very touching. It was amazing, dude. Angela Byrd, she reached out, and she didn't just reach out to me once. She reached out to me in a few different places to make sure that I got it. And they weren't copy and paste. Each message was a little different. So she's writing to me. It's nice.
That's awesome.
But yeah, man. So, if you want to hear a really good story, my best Dennis Byrd story is in my Jets Pod episode 90. I even made a clip. If you just look at my channel, I removed that and made it a clip just so people could see that. It's just look at my channel, look for the Dennis Byrd video. But that's my number one Byrd story. But let me just tell you this, man. That guy was the best. I mean, he was dominant. I think he had 13 sacks from a defensive tackle his second year. He had 7. It was dude, watching him play was unbelievable, man. It was we found a gem. And on top of that, he was just like the best, such a good dude. But yeah, man, couldn't have happened to a better guy. And the saddest part about it, guys, the saddest part about it is he overcame all that stuff. And then on his 50th birthday, he was driving with his son, and a drunk driver went over to his side of the highway head on, and he died on his birthday, 50th birthday. His son thankfully lived through it. But like after all that, man, he overcame everything. Walked back on the field the next year, all that stuff. Just amazing. And then on his 50th birthday, sadly, he got killed by a drunk driver head on.
Oh, jeez, that's terrible. Great story into a not so great story. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Gator Needs His Gat says, D-line rotation feels off. Production was better than usual, but still feels underperforming. Who's the odd man out? Still a position to invest in. Yeah, I think you could always invest in edge rusher. I think edge rusher and offensive line, every draft you should be drafting someone. Almost kind of in the same vein as like bringing in a quarterback each year, because you never know what's going to wind up hitting, and you always want to have a pipeline going through that. So as far as the D-line rotation, I think a lot of that had to do with the Jets overall not scoring any points. I think when you score points on offense, it puts you in a position where you can pin your ears back and go after offenses with your front four and allow your ball-hawking corners to start attempting to make some plays. And I think because our offense stalled out, it eliminated any shot of us having a pass rush because other teams could just run on us. And I think that's what we started to see. Matt, your thoughts on the D-line rotation?
Yeah, someone who's going to be an interesting one, I think, is Carl Lawson, because they could either cut him or restructure. I'm personally hoping they restructure. I think he's okay. I don't think he's worth the $15 million after the injury, but I still think he is serviceable enough. And then you just give a bigger role to Jermaine Johnson and Bryce Huff. But yeah, I think the line's going to look a little bit different. I mean, Solomon Thomas is a UFA. I don't know if you bring him back. Nathan Shepard, who actually kind of came on and played pretty okay this year. He's another one who might go. Sheldon Rankins. Do you bring Sheldon Rankins back? Do you look in the draft maybe for a run stuffing interior defensive lineman? Like, I feel like there's a lot of moving pieces to this defensive line next year.
I think there's too much invested on the D-line right now for us to invest a high draft pick in one. Honestly, I don't even think I would draft. I wouldn't draft defensive tackle early on, but I would kind of lean on Saleh being a defensive-minded head coach and his judgment in that sort of undrafted free agent sort of realm. I think there's maybe some potential there. I see in the chat, McNulty says moving JFM into the interior could also be another option depending on how we feel on our edge rushers. Going to be a lot of things going on for sure. Green Bean, your thoughts on the defensive line rotation?
Well, like Matt said, he alluded to for a second there, I really am looking for the Jets to bring in a big, heavy 320 to 350 if you can find them. Big immovable object to play next to Quinnen. I think that's what this defense needs. In addition to a few other things, of course, but particularly on the defensive line, I think that's what we don't have. Nathan Shepard, he's supposed to be a run stopper guy, and like Matt said, I think he played better second half of the season than maybe we expected, but even with that, he's kind of spotty. He's a good depth guy, but I think like having that like Vince Wilfork-esque, Ted Wash, somebody who's just a fucking beast and just can't move them. And in our experience, maybe like Jason Ferguson, Snacks Harrison, we found Jason Ferguson in the 7th. We found Fadu Kasi in the 6th. We found Snacks Harrison as an undrafted free agent. So not necessarily saying use our first on it. I wouldn't be devastated if we did and we thought we can get offensive line later. But I think it's one of the priorities for me. I'd like to see Sheldon Rankins brought back. He had a very good year this year, man, quietly in some respects, but he had a very solid year, and he's known as one of the leaders. When he went out, there was a dip in defensive line production. He was gone for 2 games, I think, and Quinnen Williams spoke about him as if like that's the guy he looks to, like that's his dude. And I would like to keep that sort of stuff together. I'd like to see us start keeping players together like the Buffalo Bills. The reason their defense is so good, the core of it has been together for, this is their fifth and sixth year together, most of those guys. And I think that's what we need. Figure out a way to get Rankins back, in addition to adding some nice beefsteak for the middle of the line.
John Springs comes in and says, keep hitting the like button, everyone. Yes, keep hitting the like button. For every 25 likes we get, we'll give away a t-shirt at the end of the stream. Guys, if you're just tuning in and are unaware, this stream, we are donating all super chats to the Chasing M's Foundation. That is Damar Hamlin's charity to raise money for toys for underprivileged kids. They are currently, let me hit the refresh button and see where we're at right now. At the start of the stream, we're at 5.3 million. They're at $5.5 million. Even if it's just a few pennies that we can donate to that cause, I think it goes a long way to helping a lot of people. So make sure you send those in. Felipe comes in, says, should we draft a center with our first, also a Jets fan from Brazil? Hello, Felipe. I would not take center in the first round. I personally would try to bring back McGovern. I think you can get him back on a relatively reasonable contract, and I would draft his replacement somewhere in like the 3rd through 5th round. Somewhere in that sort of range, I think, for me is where I'm kind of looking here. Matt, your thoughts on drafting a center?
Not opposed to it, because my fear is with McGovern, while I think he's serviceable, he's probably the best free agent center to hit the market. And I'm worried that there's going to be a bidding war for him and his price tag's going to go up and be like $11-12 million, which I don't think I'm willing to go that high. I think he's at either 8 or 9 million right now.
Did Herbig play center, or was that only Feeney?
That I don't remember.
Man, if Herbig could play center, I'd almost roll the dice on Herbig for a year and draft someone.
Yeah, I think I would look at a center
over McGovern for 12.
Yeah, right. That's where I'm at. It's kind of like, I like McGovern up to a point. Like if you can get him at the same price or less, yes, but I don't know how likely that is, because I think there's going to be a demand for him in free agency.
Interesting. Green Bean, what do you think about center position? First round need?
No, for not in the first round. As a matter of fact, I think most of the centers that have been really great, like most, come from the third back. You know what I mean? We see it all the time. Now, if they think that the center that's there is clearly the best player, I'm fine with that. If they identify it as a need, I'd like to see McGovern come back. I really would. But like you guys are saying, if he's like a priority out there and there's a bidding war and all that jazz, I don't know if we could. I don't know how far into that war we can go. Joe Douglas has said that. He's like, we'll be aggressive, and then there's a part where he said there's a point where it becomes what's the word he used? Reckless. There's a point where it becomes reckless, and that's where he stops. So I think if it goes toward, into that realm, I think we back off. But I'd love to see like a top 3 round center, like maybe a 2nd or 3rd round center in here. Like, centers usually in the first round, there's one, so if you take your 2nd round center, even 3rd, you're usually getting the 2nd or 3rd or 4th best center in the draft, and sometimes those guys are end up being really, really good. That's why there are 3 good centers made it to undrafted free agency last year, man. I don't know why we couldn't grab one of them. Pissed me off, Joe Douglas. But yeah, I'd like to see a young guy in here.
It would be cool to see like an open source GM kind of situation, right? Like all the fans vote on the players we should get. There's some people I like their opinion. There's a lot others I do not. Green Bean, you're one of the ones I like. Dom
thank you.
Says, of the 3 Ryan discussed, he's talking about the tackles. So I'll just rattle off the names again. The tackles I was talking about in this draft: Peter Skoronski, Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones. Those 3 guys ranked 6th, 10th, and 16th on Tankathon's overall big board. Jets currently sitting at the 13th slot as of recording this video. Dom C says, of the three Ryan discussed, Broderick Jones is best suited for our outside zone blocking scheme. He's able to play right tackle or left tackle from the get-go. Big if we get Becton, Mitchell, AVT back playing, is offensive tackle a first-round necessity. I think, Dom C, I love hearing, your insight on this, because you're one of the people I trust in terms of scouting reports. But I would say yes, absolutely. I don't think you can rely on Becton to be healthy, and I don't think you can rely on Mitchell to potentially be a starter. I think at the very least, you have to draft one in the first round. And I would even go so far as sign one in free agency. I would look for McGinchey from San Francisco. He's going to be hitting free agency. He's their right tackle. I would look to try and bring him in, and then maybe he leads the way instead of Mitchell. And then you have Becton and the rookie duke it out. And then worst case scenario, Becton's your swing tackle, I think. Green Bean, your thoughts on what Dom C is saying right here?
I think he's got a point. Position. I think we should one more year, depending on Becton. Let's do one more. The last two, it didn't work out. Can it really be 3 in a row? That'd be
some pretty bad luck.
Right? You got to play the odds, Matt. You got to play the odds. We got Becton and Max Mitchell. Dwayne Brown is under contract. We're fine, man. We're fine. Just don't let Becton practice or do anything until game 1. That's what you do. And then you know he's going to make it. That's what you do. I don't know, man. I think like last year, we all talked about it. We were talking about maybe Evan Neal or Icky, and I was on the side of depending on Becton and Fant, and using a mid-round pick on just like we did. I was a fan of that, and it blew up in my face right away. Right, it fucking took 15 minutes to blow. Boom, just blew out.
Would you trade Sauce for any of the top 3 tackles?
No. Nope.
Good.
Yeah.
No. Sauce ended up being something else, man. Something else entirely special. Right. He really did. It wouldn't have been my pick, you guys know, but I'm very, very happy with it.
Matt, your thoughts on the tackle position with what Dom C said here?
Yeah, it definitely still is a need. That's another thing I did a video on earlier this week. Mekhi Becton was tweeting about like, I'll be back LT1. And from his perspective, I appreciate that mindset from him, because if you get hurt and miss 2 straight years, you have to have that mindset to get yourself back on the field and to be able to play again. I love that for him. The Jets, on the other hand, they don't have to have that same mindset. Yeah. They need to that can't be your plan A. Let's rely on the guy who has missed legitimately, like not exaggerating, 2 straight full seasons. I'm rooting for him. I want him to be healthy. He's going to be here next year. You're not cutting him. You can't trade him. He's depth, and if they need him and he's healthy, he'll play.
Do you exercise his 5th-year option?
No. God, no.
But he's LT1. Tony comes in and says, ask Quinnen Williams, Elijah, and Mims. Elijah Moore and Mims. Tony, are you talking about... See, this is what happens when I wait too long to answer these things. Ask them for... I don't know. What do you think we would ask them
the
for?
Context. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I wish there was times... About? I don't know. Tony sent in a super chat that said, ask Quinnen Williams, or maybe it's Quincy Williams, Elijah, and Mims. I have no idea. I don't know what this is in regards to. Any ideas?
He's saying, ask them if LaFleur should stay. That's what he's saying.
All right. I guess that's a fair comment. Thomas Cahill comes in, says, should we trade down in round 1? That's an interesting situation, because it's not something I was kind of considering. I was like, oh man, I want to get as high as we can. Top 10 would be perfect. Which, by the way, we do have a poll question in the live chat before I get back to Thomas's question. Do you want the Jets to win or lose Week 18 versus the Dolphins? 300 people have voted on this. 56% want to win the game. 44% want to lose. Right? Like it's a weird scenario, because how temperamental is Woody Johnson? Is he going to pull the plug on this coaching staff with like a rough win? Like if that's the case, no, I don't want that. I want this coaching staff here. I don't want any rash decisions. But
let me ask you something. Do you really believe that Woody Johnson would override Joe Douglas right now? Do you think that? Like, honest, I'm being serious.
I think he could say we need to hold someone accountable, but I think if Saleh goes to bat for LaFleur, I think you bring in a quarterback coach and don't fire LaFleur. I don't think it would be wise to create the infighting between those three, Saleh, Douglas, and Woody. Woody may be upset, but I think he should keep his mitts off of this one.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Green Bean, you trading down in round 1?
Hell yeah. Depends on where we are. Let me ask you guys something though. Like I'm on this side. I'm just sick and tired. I've rooted for a loss the last game of the season, 11 of the last 12 years. I'm tired of it. It hasn't fucking worked. I'm rooting for a win, snatch little positivity, unless there is a 10 pick gap, like a week 20, and then we could be at 10 or something.
I think it's 10 to 16 or 10 to 17. I think it's 10 to 17. I think that's the range. It's pretty big, but if you're looking at it, I don't know what their schedules are. But right now, Washington's got most of us play division people. Let's say the Jets win, right? Like, let's call it 8 and 9. We're not getting into the playoffs, right? So the farthest we could fall is 17, which is where Detroit currently is. Green Bay and Detroit, I think they play each other, if I'm not mistaken. And I think one of them would win and get into the playoffs this upcoming week. So I think whoever wins that gets in. I don't know. And I guess they'd knock Tampa Bay.
You know, I mean, Ryan's close. He's fishing in the right pond here. Anybody know?
I don't know what their schedules look like. That's the biggest thing. I wish Tankathon showed like next opponent.
It doesn't show the strength of schedule, which is what I was.
Well, it shows strength of schedule. Strength of schedule is fine. So like right now, I know for a fact the farthest we can pick is 16 or 17, and then the highest we can get to is 10. We can't get higher than 10.
Right.
So really, if the Jets were to lose and we want to get as high as we can, we need Cleveland to win, Tennessee to win, and New Orleans to win. I would say, I'm not looking too kindly on those teams. I don't know if I see Tennessee winning. I think they have Dobbs as their quarterback right now.
They have a longer losing streak than we do. They lost 6 in a row, the Tennessee Titans. Who else is it? Cleveland?
Aren't we at 6? I think we're at 6 right now.
5.
No, 5.
We're at 5. And
that's right, man.
Okay.
Come on, dude. Don't
I
take
I know. It counts.
It
there
does.
you go.
Right. It counts, man. Exactly. So
yeah, Matt,
I mean, anyway,
would you trade down? Trade down in round 1? We're sitting at 13 right now. Let's say that's where we finish.
I'm going to take the politician answer. It depends on who's sitting on the board at that time.
Is there anyone that is not a tackle that you would take in the first round? Right now, just gut instinct.
No. If there was like
I think it's tackle or trade down for me.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Especially because you might now. Obviously, the Raiders could cut Carr, but to bring this back to the quarterback conversation, if you want to give up, I don't know, conditional 3rd round pick, let's say, or maybe not, but just like a mid-round pick, then you could trade back and recoup some extra value as well.
So the Carr thing's interesting because he has a full no trade clause. I don't think, I understand why people would say like, oh, well, he's on a lucrative contract right now. Why would he opt out of it? But he's only guaranteed this next year. If he hits the open market, I think he's getting a 3-year, $100 million fully guaranteed deal. I think he's getting that Cousins type contract. I think he's 100% getting cut. I don't think there's any way someone trades for him, and I don't think he waives the no trade clause for anyone other than like staying in Vegas. Matt, do you think that's a possibility? Like, do you think there's a possibility he'll trade? Like, he'll accept the trade offer?
Yeah, because he could kind of choose where he could choose where he goes in free agency too, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I think if it's a place that he wants to go, I don't think the Raiders want to just lose him for nothing.
But do you think they'd be willing to pay him the $40 million to keep him? Like, if he says, I'm not waiving the trade clause, like they have to cut him.
They cut him
three days after the Super Bowl, right? Like, it's like it comes down to that final hour. Like, hey, no, I want to be a Raider, and they're like, okay. someone throw us a conditional pick, like, and then just hope that he doesn't, block it.
But it seems like let's off the top of your head, I would say the Saints, the Jets, Washington. Those are 3 teams who could be in on the mix. And he
Colts,
could say,
Dolphins, sure.
Okay, for sure. For Colts, Dolphins too. Those 5 teams. Maybe he has 3 on that list that he would like to go to. Then their GM gets in contact with the ones who are interested and says, hey, let's work something here. And it's not going to be a first. It's probably not going to be a second. But if it's a mid, I wouldn't be shocked. I think it's on the table. They could very well just cut him if they're not able to come to an agreement. But I think they're going to really try to get something done in that 3-day window after the Super Bowl.
I think the only way that works is if they sign him to an entirely new contract. I think that might be the only way Carr says okay to this, because $30 million guaranteed versus a fully guaranteed contract to hit free agency and still sign with any team. Because remember, he's going to have to get cut after the Super Bowl, which means he's got a month of negotiating with teams before any free agent can talk to any other teams. Like, that's the attractive thing about Derek Carr right now. I don't know. It's interesting. Trading down in round 1, though, does seem appealing to me as well. All right, King Blaze comes in. King Blaze says, would you give Laken Tomlinson another year or replace him? Also, we need to draft our next Hall of Fame center, sign Carr, patch it here. There's playoffs. Here we come. I would draft a center for sure. I still would try to bring back McGovern. Matt alluded to his potential price. I think that's definitely a concern. With Laken Tomlinson, I'm not so sure you keep him. I think he was one of the bigger flub ups, and you may have to designate him a June 1st cut. Like, I would almost be more likely to bring AVT back to the left side and re-sign Herbig for right guard. Green Bean, your thoughts on Laken Tomlinson?
I'm going to look again. I was looking at this again. He's expensive to cut, if I remember correctly. Let me see. Laken. There you are. Okay, so we got... He's an 18.5 pre-June 1st cut. So he costs more to cut than he is to keep. Cut post, he's $14 million dead cap. So you save $3 million. That's a lot of money, boss. I'm just telling you. I think they keep him and they fucking smack him around and they waterboard him a little bit. That's all. You know what I mean?
He's guaranteed $10 million. So as of March, this is interesting. As of March 21st, the balance of his salary is guaranteed. So
yeah, but it's also the dead cap too, right? You can save some cash, but the dead cap.
Yeah, they paid him a $13 million signing bonus, so that's what you would hit. You would get $8 million of that dead cap plus $10 million of his guaranteed salary for next year. So you'd have to designate him a June 1st cut. I think, like Green Bean's saying, he's probably here for another year. Based on the contract.
And you gotta scare him with snakes and shit. You gotta go, hey, don't do that shit. Stuff like that. I think it might work.
I like it.
I'm with you.
Trin the Great comes in, says, if Zach's the future, get Rodgers. They're friends and he developed well under him. Not my first choice, though. I say Carr, he balls out and is durable. I get the feeling Carr's not going to choose us. My gut feeling is I think he goes to Miami, and I think he wants to play with Tyreek Hill. I think he saw him enough in the AFC West that he's gonna lean that direction. It's warm weather. There's no state income tax. There's a lot to like about Miami. Rodgers, to me, feels like the most realistic option if they can figure out the money, because it allows Douglas and Saleh to not give up on the Zach Wilson pick. It allows you to compete for a Super Bowl next year and then have Zach learn. So I agree with Trin here. Matt, any additional thoughts here?
Yeah, I kind of get it, right? Like, if that's what they really want to do, if they plan on keeping Zach around and bring in Rodgers, like, can they maybe sell themselves on Rodgers for a year and see what the hell happens with Zach? Maybe. But I agree. I think Carr just makes so much sense for this team. I know people don't like it. There's a lot of people that don't like it, and that's really strange to me, but I think it would be a really good fit.
Do you think that let's say we had to trade for Rodgers, like Carr and Jimmy off the board, the Rodgers option comes around, they figure out the money. What pick are you willing to give up? Is it a first, or does it have to be lower than that? to get Rodgers? You're talking 1 year rental. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be willing to give up the first rounder because then what the hell are you doing at tackle? What do you do at tackle?
Yeah, and I think, the Packers are going to have to sell low-ish at some point. And I don't think you'll need to give up the first. Like, does a second do it for you? Would you pull the trigger on a second-round pick? Is that worthwhile?
I think I would. I think I would do it for the second, yeah. I
think that's probably where I fall too. I don't think it necessarily would take that much, but I think that would be the trigger point for me. Green Bean, your thoughts on Rodgers? What would it take for you to trade for him?
It would take them eating his salary. I'll tell you that, a whole shitload of it.
If they do, it's a very good. I would give up a first round pick if they ate his salary.
Yeah,
but it's a great
100%.
deal for the team that trades for him.
Right, 100%. I mean, well, the thing is, right, like
his salary. Let me just get this real quick. His salary,
go ahead.
1 point. It's like $2 million next year.
Yeah.
I think it's what is that? $17 million in 24. 31 million in 25. Not that he's necessarily playing that long, and it would be 25 in 2026 if you wanted to hold on to him. But his guaranteed money, it would not be cost prohibitive if the Packers ate the contract.
Yeah, I mean, I think there would have to be 3 willing participants that can move a bunch of that around. You know what I mean? They're not going to eat $99 million, dude. Or what? Even if it gets to the $30 million, that's the only reason $30 million looks nice is because it's next to $99 million. $30 million dead cap is absurd. You know what I mean? So they have to figure something else out, or else it's prohibitive. And then like even in the next year they eat fucking $40 million. It's like I think
it's 75 over 2 years. I think that's where it winds up working.
Nuts,
if it's a June 1st move.
Yeah, it's nuts. So there would have to be some willing renegotiating and all that kind of stuff. So Rodgers would have to really want to come here, and it's like, all right, well, I already kind of have some issues with Matt LaFleur. Maybe am I going to go to his little brother? You know what I mean?
That's fair.
I don't know. Seems weird.
That is fair. Bill McCoy drops in, says, what about getting offensive tackle Tunsil in free agency? I don't think he's a free agent. Let me check real quick. Tunsil's contract. So he has 1 more year left on his contract. He doesn't have any more guaranteed salary. He is a $35 million cap hit. So he is going to get cut. I don't think there's any way they let him hit them for $35 million. In which case, let's see what I don't know. I mean, maybe right now you're talking, they have $47 million going into next year, and you have a franchise left tackle there. I mean, if they're looking at quarterback, I could see them eating that salary for 1 season to make sure their quarterback stays upright.
Yeah.
Green Bean, you think Tunsil hits the market? I know Matt seems you're thinking he doesn't hit.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, there's no way he gets that, but they'll renegotiate. Isn't he a Pro Bowler this year? I think he is.
I think so. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, it's still pretty good. You know, pretty good.
Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know what the incentive. I know obviously it clears up if you were to cut him 18.5, but that's still 16.7 of dead money just sitting there when you have an elite level left tackle when you're probably taking a quarterback first overall. That seems counterintuitive to protect your franchise guy.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they're more likely to extend him for more years and drop that cap hit than to move on from him. Right. Interesting. He's probably not playing on that cap hit, though. I think that's fair. Harry W. drops in with his 20-month member super chat, says, at least we are talking about the draft in January and not in October.
Yeah,
dude, thank
Harry!
Goodness. Good stuff. He is right. The Jets show comes in and says, let's produce a youthful team with a winning mindset. Let's kick Miami soft skins ass. Yeah, I want to go down to Miami and just put a whooping on them. Like, if you want this staff here next year, team, make it known. Come out and take care of business. Bully the Dolphins around. Do not roll over. You roll over, this is going to be a long offseason with a lot of awkward questions. Matt, you want to beat the Miami Dolphins this weekend?
I'm gonna go numb. That's my official stance on this. Is I don't care if they win or lose. I'm gonna go numb, and whatever happens, happens. I'm not gonna get bent out of shape about losing another game and improving the draft stock. I am also not gonna get bent out of shape for winning, knocking the Dolphins out, and worsening the draft stock. It is what it is. You're not in the playoffs. You shrug. You say, "Oh well," and try again next time.
Yeah, it's almost kind of nice that Zach Wilson is not starting because at least the quarterback losing the game potentially in Miami will more than likely not be on the roster next year. And Zach Wilson will be healthy going into 2023, which I think is far more important than him playing in a meaningless game next week. Green Bean, you want to beat the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, again, I need to see if it's if it's 7 to 10 picks. I'm gonna reframe my argument here. But yeah, man, look, I've been rooting for the Jets to lose the last game of the year for 11 of 12 years, 2015 being the one, and it's done nothing. All right, I mean, yay, here, there. Like now, if
we missed out on Mariota. We year after year, it's like, oh, we win that last game.
Yeah, I know, but here's the thing: it's like if it was to be like Trevor Lawrence, you know what I mean? So like you had a target. I don't know, man. Like we're looking for an offensive lineman, a defensive tackle, a free safety. We have the needs. I don't know. I think this has been a really, really negative second half of the season. I think that if the team can figure out how to grab one shred of positivity at the end to because we have all these guys all the young guys, like most of this team is coming back. Obviously we have the Carr Lawsons and the Corey Davis. There's a nice chunk that might not be, but a large contingent is. And like the young guys, here's my fear. We have a moniker, attached to us that you just can't win here. Now this team, remember what we were saying. They don't know they're supposed to suck. They don't give a shit about our history. Well, maybe they're all starting to think right now like, holy shit, maybe you can't win here. You know what I mean? Like this was epic, this collapse. And I think getting to 8 wins, sweeping the Miami Dolphins, splitting with the Bills in 1 year when we haven't beaten anybody in the division in, a long time. I forget, what is it, 4 or 5 years? We haven't beaten anybody. Like, so there are positives to stack up. Again, the collapse is epically negative, but we know what we have at quarterback. Turns out it's nothing. And we can get to 8 wins and sweep the Dolphins and things like that. There are positives to stack and stand on to get to the next level. And I think that's pretty important, man. Again, if we were talking about, we're at the 5th pick or the 1st pick, okay. Yeah, we got our target. We don't even know who the fuck we want. You know what I mean? We're just talking about numbers right now. And I'm tired of rooting for losses at the end. Right or wrong. I believe me, I get it. Again, 11 fucking years I've rooted for this. So I'm not going to judge anybody, but don't judge me for wanting to watch one more win, damn it. And that's kind of where I stand, unless it's 7 to 10 picks. Then I gotta change my mind.
I'm just concerned with what happens if we lose. I think if you have Tua and you lose this game, the final game of the year, I think it's way easier to swallow than losing to potentially a 3rd-string quarterback. I think, especially when the Jets are reeling to begin with. Green Bean, get some qualifiers. Guys, for every 25 likes we get on this video, we're going to pick a t-shirt qualifier at the end of the stream. Fire away. Pooch Guy comes in. Pooch Guy says, I've had to take a lot of BS to support this team. With that said, if Woody's and blows this up, that might be it for me. Pooch Guy, I don't want to see you go. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think we could see LaFleur get canned. I think at the very least we're getting a quarterback coach in here, but we want to see you hang around. So don't jump off overboard just yet. Tampa Pete says, tired of all these young hotshot coaches. Hire Mike Martz to run the offense and call it a day. That's
Martz. What year is
Mike
that?
Martz.
That's a name. We're 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, let's get Dan Gailey.
Yeah, we'll go get him. No, for me, I understand being upset with hotshot head coaches, but unless you're going over the top for a coach, like you have to offer Sean Payton probably $10, $12 million a year on a long-term deal, and he's bringing everyone in. You're probably giving him GM responsibilities at that point. I think stability at the coaching staff is so critical, and we finally have a situation where players do want to play for Robert Saleh, and I think it's something we shouldn't kind of dismiss right off the bat. Juan drops in, says, what do you think about using a late pick on wide receiver or trading for Hopkins and cutting Davis? I think the Cardinals are going to have a fire sale this offseason. He can help our young wide receiver room. Let's see. I'm going to pull up his contract real quick and see what we're looking at in terms of next year. So 2023. Ooh, yeah. I mean, it definitely looks like he will be cut or extended. He's got a $30 million cap hit, and they would only save $8 million. So you're talking about a $22 million dead cap hit. I don't know. That's a lot. I like Hopkins a lot at 31 years old. I don't particularly want to take him at a $20 million cap hit. I do like that body structure of receiver, though. I will say that. That's the type of receiver we're missing. Matt, any thoughts on Hopkins and possibly trading a pick for a receiver?
He hasn't played enough in recent years, and I don't love wide receivers over 30 years old at this point. He obviously has talent, but I worry about this. Kind of reminds me of like the Julio Jones thing from a couple of years ago. Like, oh, you got to go out and get Julio, and he played like 6 games for the Titans. Not for me, I don't think.
Bumtaz drops in and says, we can get another super talent if we have a top 10 to 12 pick tackle, linebacker, guard, defensive tackle. All good. Positivity comes and goes and has no meaning at the end of the year. This year we started out negative, then positive, then negative. Look, Mumtaz is making the argument for just losing the last game, getting the better draft pick. I think if you can get yourself the tackle and losing facilitates that, I think that's probably what we should probably root for. But there's so much between now and then. We don't know where these 3 guys are going to shake out. We had guys that were ranked in like the first round this time last year that were like mid to late round picks. Nakobe Dean was like, top 15 pick, wound up going in like the 3rd or 4th round. So you never know what winds up happening here. So Mumtaz, I think we're kind of on board with you at that juncture as well. V-Man comes in and says, people complaining about Carr not playing well in the cold can adapt. Humans can adapt to different climates. They have done it for over 10,000 years. V-Man, I'll say this. Derek Carr, for those of you guys complaining about him being 0-7 in his career in games below 36 degrees, 1, the Jets have not had to play many games that mean anything when we get to temperatures around 36 degrees. 2, we won against Buffalo in perfect weather with Zach Wilson having 1 touchdown and 150 yards. Derek Carr averages 1 touchdown a game and has only gone above 220 yards once while playing in the cold. So if you're telling me that's the stat line we could get from Derek Carr, that's a winning formula with Breece Hall and AVT and everything right there. So I'm on board with Derek Carr. I know Green Bean is, and I know Matt is as well. Yep. Cafe, by the way, says, what do you think about Baker Mayfield? I wanted Baker Mayfield in the Sam Darnold draft. At this point in time, I do not believe there's any way Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh gamble their careers on Baker Mayfield. I would be stunned if that was the case. Matt, your thoughts?
Echo what you're saying. I think he is perfect for the Rams to back up Matthew Stafford and /or take over if Stafford decides to retire because of injuries. But he needs to be in an amazing system. The Jets are still working on that right now. I don't think, as you said, Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas are putting all their eggs in the Baker Mayfield basket.
Craig Wilton says, good day, guys, from Australia. Been obsessed with the Jets and football since a trip to MetLife in 2018. He actually got to see a win. Thanks for helping me get educated. Craig, thank you so much for watching us. I apologize you got to stand on your head to watch this stream. Next time we'll flip it over for you so that way you can see it right side up.
Hey,
but
at
much
least you got
love.
to watch a win. Shit, we don't get that.
Every time I've been to a game recently, I haven't seen a win at home since 2015.
Me
That's
too.
the last time I saw a victory.
That's a
opening day. It was against the Browns. I saw the helicopter Fitzpatrick year.
That building
McCown
sucks for us.
Yeah, it's tough.
I think it was 20. The last week, I went the last game of the year in 2016 when Ryan Fitzpatrick came back in to play the Bills, and they won to improve to 5-11. I think that's the last win that I saw.
Oh, great!
That's an ugly win.
It's still fun though. It's seeing a win. Like the bottom line, look, we like the game of football.
Well, that's the Bosa game, right? Is that right? That's the Bosa draft we missed? Oh no, that was the year.
No, that was the Darnold 20. That was 2018. 26. They took Jamal.
So we wouldn't have had. we wouldn't
Yeah.
have had to trade up. Or no, 2017. Yeah, so we took Jamal. Yeah, that was who was it was Solomon Thomas. Who was the other pick? That year early on. Trubisky was one. Solomon Thomas. Wasn't there like a big pick like just ahead of us? Now, I'm not talking like Mahomes and Watson that year. I thought there was something else. Corey Davis was the pick ahead of us. God, who am I missing at 4? I don't know. Whatever. Sorry. Thomas Cahill comes in and says, best case scenario, Jets win big at Miami. White balls out and solidifies his place. We can focus on other positions. Thomas Cahill, there's nothing Mike White can show me in this final game that would have me relying Joe Douglas's or Salah's career on this final game. As much as I really like Mike White, like the only situation I have Mike White back here next year, I think is if we get Jimmy Garoppolo and Mike White's the backup. I don't think I'm leading with Mike White unless things go awful in this offseason. Green Bean, your thoughts?
Yeah, Thomas, I love you, buddy, but Mike White already showed us what he's going to be doing for us, and that's backup or nothing. You know, I'm saying, you know, I don't know. He could literally throw for 400 yards, and I don't think he's our starter. You can't, man. You can't put the stock in him. Our playoff lives were on the line, even though there were drops, and he was kind of betrayed in some area. He looked like Zach. Honestly, it felt the same. It looked the same. And if he wins a meaningless game, it doesn't mean anything because it's meaningless. I think Mike White is already proven or showed us what he's going to do.
RJ McPott says, highest possible draft position if we win on Sunday. Let me try and figure out rough math. I guess the highest possible pick would be 17. It's either 16 or 17. That's the highest we can get because we can't get into the playoffs. And the first team out of the playoffs is 18, which is the Dolphins pick right now. So I guess if we win, no, we can't eclipse their win percentage. So Miami would still be picking after us, you know, because of their strength of schedule. Detroit, if they lost, it would come down to strength of schedule. They have a .535. We have a .532. So depending on how uncommon opponents handled their final weeks, that would determine if we could get 16 or 17. So a little bit of stuff, weird stuff there if we win. Sam Aiken comes in and says, we have a championship defense. Let's get a healthy quarterback, Carr, that will spread the ball around. Carr, for me, there's a theory in Raiders land right now, and I posted it under my Derek Carr video that I made last week, and I suggest you guys take a look at it because there's some interesting theories about how Josh McDaniels is handling the quarterback situation and how the Raiders had Carr. They were going to move on from Carr dating back to when they brought in McDaniels. So there's a theory out there that McDaniels was submarining the season with Carr and intentionally calling bad plays and intentionally getting them in weird situations. The Raiders this year lost 3 times after having a 17-point lead. They had, I think, 2 additional times that they lost 10-point leads. Like, it was like goofy. Like, for as good of a as good as a coach as McDaniels is supposed to be, he's doing things that smart coaches do not do. And maybe he's just a bad coach, but I think there's far more consistency from Derek Carr than what we've seen this year. And some of the clips of him talking about, like, okay, we're going to handle things in the locker room. We're going to handle things as a team. I'm doing what Josh asked me to do. Those types of comments lead me to believe Carr is not in the wrong. And I would risk gambling on him over, some other potential people. But Sam, I completely agree. I think there's a lot to like with the championship defense here. NY Jets 24 says, if the Jets lose to a third string quarterback, Woody will be firing a lot of coaches. I completely agree. I think Salah's job may not be safe if we lose by any sort of like if we look flat and we lose, I don't know if anyone's safe. I think anything could be on the table at that point. I do think we look at the offensive side of the ball, and I think they do try to say, okay, 3 seasons from this coaching staff, but losing that many games in a row after being 6-3 heading into the bye, I can understand heads rolling. Bronx Kid says, Leonard Fournette was number 4, Ryan, in the 2017 draft. What's up? Okay, so I guess I was wrong. So we really didn't miss out on too many people. The pick would have been Patrick Mahomes if you could, go back and redo it over again. Ugh, brutal. Absolutely brutal. Guys, we raised a bunch of money tonight between the first stream and the second stream. I'll have to go back and count everything up, but it's a nice sizable chunk, well over $700, I think, is what it looks like. So good stuff, guys. Nice little donation that we can make here. So let's go around our panel. We've hit the end here. Green Bean, you got our qualifiers?
Yeah, I'm really disappointed tonight. We have 570 people in here. We didn't break 200 likes with combined. So, the other one I only had, 2? And now I'll put another one in there for good measure. But come on, guys, you got to do it, man. There's 3. We could have so many more qualifiers, 380 of you. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Remember, it's not just likes for Ryan, it's likes for you. It's likes so I can add more of you to the t-shirt giveaway, everybody.
Love it.
Yeah,
absolutely,
I got him.
Love it. All right, let's fire away. We're not going to go to last week's stream because we didn't do one last week. We skipped a week. And then I haven't had the retweet thing up, so we're not going to do that tonight. So, Green Bean, how many qualifiers we got? We got 6?
Well, it's
almost 6.
It's flying up right now. We just got literally 50. So let me just do 2 more. Let's see. The guys. Least Niedermeyer did it twice in a row. You can't do that. Fucking Least cheating. Least Niedermeyer. Cheater. I know every week it picks me at least once. And he's again 3rd. Come on, Nightbot. Friggin'
Nightbot's a jerk.
I'm telling you.
No idea what Nightbot.
Everybody's like rigged every time it happens. All right, come on. Oh, I did it wrong. Wait, okay, here we go. Oh, sorry. All right, here we go.
Throwing in random commands.
Does it a 4th time we're ending it?
Come on.
Does it?
Hey,
Paris. Okay, Paris. All right, I'll do one more.
Let's see who we get.
One more.
Great Jet Shark drops in with a $10 super chat at the end, going towards the Chasing M's Foundation. Thank you so much, Great Jet Shark. You are a champ. Omar R.
And I stuck and 𝐒𝐿𝐫𝐲𝐫𝐞𝐿. Okay, Omar R. and 𝐒𝐿𝐫𝐲𝐫𝐞𝐿. Yes.
All right.
𝐿𝐫𝐲𝐫𝐿. All right. Yeah, 𝐿OGSDON. Sorry. All right. Log. All right.
Little
Got
odds
it. We're
or
done.
evens here. 3, 2, 1. 8. Is that a 1? 9.
Yeah.
You got an odd.
All right. Odds. Here we go. DeCat's out.
gone.
Joe Campione's out of here. Scott Bombchick, you're gone, buddy. Rusty Spooner, you're out. Least Niedermeyer, with all the times you qualified, you're out. Omar's out. That's it. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left.
All right. 3, 2, 1. 3 plus 8 is 11. That's an odd.
Oh, Harlan
Dude,
Abraham.
I'm gonna have Shay in here at some point when she's learning her numbers, and she's gonna have to learn how to count all the fingers on the screen.
There you go. Yeah, not a bad idea.
It's gonna be 11.
Well, yeah, that's great.
She just started waving. She does this wave that's like this. It's dainty and amazing, and I love it.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, everything's the best. So, Drug Monkey's out, and 𝐒𝐿𝐫𝐲𝐫𝐿 Art, you are out. All right, 3 left.
Ooh, 3 left. Chat, give us a number plus whatever we throw up. 3, 2, 1. Matt's got a 6. I've got a 7. And Green Beans got 8, 9. So we got 9 plus whatever number pops up in the chat. 3. Ooh, for Sorless. Good stuff. 3 for Damar. Look at the 3. We got 3 threes right in a row. Love it. Absolutely love it.
We got an even?
We got an even.
All right, that cakes. Jets gang, you're out. We got 2.
All right, final number's 3.
Final number's 3, so that's an odd. Paris is out. Jeffrey R is the winner. Jeffrey
R. Jeffrey R, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Hit me up on social media. Let me get your information so we can send you out a t-shirt for hanging out with us tonight. Guys, thank you so much for all the incredibly generous donations. This is going for a really good cause. Guys, let's head around our panel. Let's give our closing thoughts. Green Bean, any last words for our panel?
Yeah, very quickly. I started a morning show Tuesday through Saturday, 9 a.m. It's called Good Morning Jets. Come hang out. It's like 45 minutes. We have some fun. And we're going to do an after hours tonight. Why not? 10:30, my channel will hang out till the wee hours of the night.
Ooh,
There you go.
Matt, any thoughts for our panel?
I will say I am a big fan of the morning show from Green Bean because that's usually when I'm doing my editing and I have him on my other screen. I'm like, this is the best start to my day. But I have just Jets coming out tomorrow, 8 a.m. We're talking about, here's a good one. We're debating if the season was a success or a failure. So you got that to chew on.
Ooh, that's really good. Oh, I can't wait to watch those. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for all the donations. My name's Ryan. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.
I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure. Sacked by Quinnen Williams. Right sideline, Usaha's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life to breathe into the locker room.
Touchdown.